Oh, that's actually a lot better. Drawer slides can be expensive, so I'm going to show you 5 different types of wooden drawer slides that are cheaper and easier to install than your typical metal slides. I also discovered that the type of wood really matters. This first method I really liked and it worked really well for this workbench, but it's not even the coolest part. The coolest part, in my opinion, and that's the only opinion I have, is what I did to make sure the drawer does not pull all the way out when you're using it. But for the slides, I just cut some thin pieces of plywood, they're about an inch wide, and I glued them to the bottom of the drawer box. But I made sure when I glued them in, I left space for the drawer face. And then I added a 1/16 of an inch extra because I wanted my drawer faces inset about a 1/16 of an inch. I just think this adds a little more depth. These pieces also raise up the drawer box a little bit so that the box is not riding on the bottom of the cabinet, and this allows for an even reveal on all 4 sides. I usually like to go for an 1/8 of an inch reveal, but if you're feeling a little spicy, you can go for a 1/16. Okay, we're about to get wild. I'm going to add 2 stoppers to each opening in the cabinet, and this will make sure when you open the drawer, it won't go all the way out and crush your toesies. Now, you can add just 1 stopper if you want. I felt like 2 was good because the drawers are fairly heavy because I used 3/4 inch plywood for the entire thing, and I thought just 1 stopper wouldn't have the stopping power. I've used 1/2 inch plywood for drawer boxes as well, and it worked really well. And they're lighter, so sometimes that can be easier to open and close. But for this workbench, I made plans for it, and it was just a lot easier to have people buy all 3/4 inch plywood than to buy some 3/4 inch plywood and some 1/2 inch. All the furniture you see me build in this video, I have detailed step-by-step plans for on my website, thomascustomwoodworks.com, and I'll put a link to that in the description below. Along with the 5 different types of drawer slides I'm going over in this video, there's also so many ways to build drawer boxes, and I'll go over a few of them here. And not all of these slides and drawer boxes are just for workshop furniture. I do talk about using them for indoor furniture as well. I like these stoppers for multiple reasons. 1, they stop the drawer from pulling all the way out, but 2, they're really easy to install. I just used 2 screws, 1 for each, that are 1 1/4 inches long. Another cool thing is I came up with this idea all on my own. Totally joking. I stole it from John Peters. He's got a phenomenal YouTube channel. I saw him use these stoppers for, I think it was an entry table, but if you haven't checked out John's YouTube channel and social media, he is phenomenal and quite the woodworker, John Peters. For these drawers, I just used butt joints and trim head screws, and for the bottom, I just inserted the 1/4 inch plywood into a groove I cut near the bottom of each drawer box piece. Later, I will show you how to hide the screws in your drawer boxes. Actually, multiple ways on how to hide them. Over the years, I have been asked by tens of people how I get an even reveal on my drawer faces. And it's a method that has worked so well over the years. I haven't really tried many other methods, but if you have a different way of giving an even reveal, let me know in the comments below. And extra points if you tell me that your way is the one and only correct way to do it. I use playing cards, and it doesn't matter how many cards I'm using here. The only thing that matters is that you use the same number of cards on the bottom as you do the top, and the same number of cards on each side. You do have to make sure you cut your drawer face to get the reveal you want. So if you want an 1/8 of an inch reveal, just cut your drawer face to be an 1/8 of an inch smaller on all sides than your opening. Okay, this is important. Important? Important. To secure my drawer face to the box, I'm driving in 2 screws that are in the exact location that my drawer pull will be. This is just temporary though, kind of like the joy I feel when I think the 49ers might win the Super Bowl. It's fine, I'm fine. I'm permanently securing the drawer face to the drawer box with 4 screws from the back. Now this drawer is just for a workbench, but if you wanted to make this type of drawer for your indoor furniture, or when you're making drawers for indoor furniture in general and you want to use plywood, you can always use iron-on edge banding for the top of the drawer box so you don't see those plywood edges. You can also do this for your plywood drawer faces, or you can use hardwood for the face. But as I'll talk about a little later, there is something very important you have to do if you're using solid hardwood for your drawer faces. And it's something that I messed up on, but I like to show all my mistakes, and they are aplenty. Okay, I'm going to be honest with you, which I always try and do. The reason I put finish on my workshop furniture is to make it look nicer. It just makes me happy, and it makes the photos and video that I take look nicer too. Okay, let's see how we did with these stoppers. Hey, they work. I mean, I always knew they would work. I totally wasn't surprised at all when I found out that they worked well. That's all great, but what if you didn't even want to just hide the screws? What if you wanted there to be no screws and no brad nails? Here's a method where we're just going to use glue for the drawer boxes, and we're not even going to put any little plywood pieces in the cabinet opening. This is the least expensive option and how a lot of old furniture was built. Rabbets! I'm using rabbets for just the drawer fronts and backs, and that way the front of the drawer box has no exposed plywood edges, and we don't have to use any screws. Wood glue is plenty strong for this. You just cut halfway through the plywood, and you could use a dado stack. It would be faster with your miter gauge, but I'm just using multiple passes with my regular blade and a crosscut sled. What is time anyways? I've actually been thinking a lot about time recently because at the time of this video, I have a 2- and 3-year-old at home, and I'm trying to spend as much time with them as possible. And although I've heard from a lot of people that kids grow up fast, that won't happen to me. That just happens to other people. My kids will be little forever. If you've gotten value from this video so far, consider subscribing to my channel. I really try and add as much value to you as I can. This method is great, but it takes a little bit of extra planning. You have to measure the exact depth of your half laps and then measure the depth of your cabinet opening so that when you finish the drawers, the drawer face will be flush with the cabinet. This is not hard, and I know that for a fact because I can do it, but it's just something that I wanted you to be aware of. One thing to also be aware of is, unlike the last method, on this method there's no way for there to be an even reveal on all 4 sides. Because we did not raise up our drawer box, the cabinet face is going to be sitting on the bottom of the cabinet opening. So there will be no reveal on the bottom. I still think it looks nice. And another question that I get sometimes, this one I actually do get fairly often, is what kind of plywood I use for my workshop furniture. I generally always use birch plywood because I really like the grain pattern and it's one of the cheaper options at my local lumber yard. But how can you tell that it's birch plywood? And I've explained this before in the past, but if you're new here, I'll explain it again. You can tell that it's birch because of the way it is. Okay, you don't want to spend money on drawer slides, totally get it, I'm with you there. But let's say you also don't want to spend money on drawer pulls. Well, let's make some wooden ones. Very simple, just cut a thin strip of wood with the bottom side having a 45-degree angle so you can pull the drawer open. Then I'm just securing it with some wood glue and those recessed trim head screws we used before. I used these poles for my compact miter saw station when I had my smaller Ryobi 10-inch miter saw. But the miter saw station you saw a few seconds ago, that was my king-size version because I got a new 12-inch Bosch miter saw, which I'm actually really liking. I know I say that a lot of things are one of my favorites, but this next method right now, I would have to say is my #1 favorite way to make wooden drawer slides for workshop furniture. Here's why. I'll be using pocket hole screws in the drawer front and backs, which will be totally hidden when you put the drawer face on the drawer box. And the pocket hole screws in the back piece will be facing the back of the cabinet, so you'll never see them. And the drawer bottom is integrated into the box. So you don't have to cut any grooves or use any different sized 1/4-inch plywood. But wait, there's more. I feel like I'm in an infomercial. The drawer bottom also acts as the drawer slides. Now that is a versatile bottom. I'm a bit of an overbuilder, I don't know if you can relate, so I'm using wood glue and screws to secure the bottom to the drawer box. Now, unlike the last method, I am raising the drawer box a little bit by installing a small piece of plywood in the opening, and this will just allow me to get that even reveal around all 4 sides of the face. I'm also installing another piece that's about 1 inch above that bottom piece, And this will just make sure that when you pull the drawer out, it doesn't tip way down. The top piece is a lot wider than that bottom piece, and I did that for a very specific reason. I felt like it. That top piece could have been narrower. I don't know why I did that. When I originally built these drawers, a lot of people asked what there is to prevent the drawers from pulling all the way out. And of course, I gave them a snarky response like, just don't pull them out all the way. But then I decided to add those stoppers to that other workbench you saw, so those comments were actually really helpful. This ash-flavored piece of furniture is a nightstand, part of a pair of nightstands that I built for my bedroom a few years ago. And there are some issues, but there are no issues with the wooden drawer slides I added. Let me show you. I cut a groove in the side of the drawer boxes with a regular blade. I did not do a very good job. I should have used a router, but that's neither here nor there. But this is the groove that I routed into the side, both sides of the drawer box. And let me take this out so we can see the drawer slides. Here are the drawer slides that I added. They're about 3/8 of an inch thick, almost 3/8 inches thick, and then about 3/4 inches wide. And I added them to both sides of this nightstand. I added some paste wax to them and it made them slide really nicely. And if you were up close and personal to these drawer slides like I am, you'd be able to tell that they're mahogany because they smell like rich mahogany. So I cut all the drawer box pieces and then I cut these grooves in the side pieces. And then after I built the box, I added the drawer faces. I used ash plywood for the entire nightstand and then hardwood ash for the drawer fronts. And like I mentioned, these actually slide really nicely. If I can get this in. There we go. It's very smooth. But, of course it's smooth because there's nothing in it. So there's nothing to weigh it down. Let's put some stuff in it. Yeah, they still slide really nice. And I've had this nightstand for about 5 years and the slides are still solid. I made the grooves in the drawer box about 1/4 inch wider than the wooden slides. And that seemed to work pretty well. Next time I'd probably make the grooves a little narrower so there's less play, but these drawers still work well. With wooden drawer slides, you do have to worry about wood movement a little bit, especially since I used hardwood slides. I didn't use plywood. But again, I've had this nightstand for about 5 years and it's gone through all the seasons. And in California where I am, it gets up into the hundreds in the summertime, and in the winter, it gets as low as 40 degrees, which I believe is about as cold as it gets in the US. And the slides have been great, but it is very dry where I am. So if you're in a more humid area, you may have to think about wood movement more. I left about 1/16 on each side of the drawer face and the top, and it seems to have worked well. Okay, we've talked about some of the good. Let's see some of the bad and the ugly, shall we? Uh-oh, what is that? Exposed pocket holes? Don't tell anybody, I'm embarrassed. This is against the wall, no one has to know, but it has worked well. If I did this again, I would cover the entire back and I'd cut some rabbets in the back of these panels to recess the back panel. I think when I built this, I only had a little bit left of the plywood and I didn't want to buy more. So I just put a narrow piece. Also, I used a piece of ash hardwood for the drawer face, which looks nice, but it wasn't perfectly flat. You could probably see there, it's kind of rounded a little bit, and you can see it even better here. It is not perfectly flat. You can see it, there's more room on the bottom and top than in the middle. And look at those cute little legs. If I made this again, I'd probably make them a little wider, but all in all, this thing turned out okay. It's in my bedroom, nobody's gonna see it, and I think it looks okay. Please tell me it looks okay in the comments. Now, I normally never do this. Actually, I have literally never done this until now. I wanted to show this other method of how to make these specific types of drawer slides, but I didn't have a project that I was going to be working on very soon. So I built this small little teeny tiny cabinet to show off these drawer slides with no intention of actually using it. But if you have an idea of how I could actually use this in my shop, let me know in the comments below. This bottom piece that I'll be installing in the cabinet is 3 inches wide, and that's really important because the drawer slide that I'm installing on the drawer box will be 2.5 inches above the bottom of the drawer box. That will raise my drawer 1/2 inch when I put it in the cabinet, giving me ample space to get a nice even reveal around the drawer face. Now on shop furniture, I've learned to endure exposed screws, but here is a way to hide screws if you don't want to see them on your drawer boxes. I'm not worried about the inside of this cabinet because it'll never be seen. I recessed these screws about 1/4 inch and then I'm hiding them with cherry dowels. I get this is not an extremely difficult part of woodworking, but this is one of the first times that I've been really happy with how I flush cut these dowels. It only took me 5 years. Now, if you did not want to even see the dowel, you could use a plug cutter in your drill and cut a plug in the hardwood that is the exact same species as the plywood you're using. So in this case, I would use birch hardwood. I cut my drawer slide about 1 inch wide, and now you can see me fumble through clamping it to my drawer box. I finally figure it out, spoiler alert. But when you're cutting the upper piece that you're going to install in the cabinet, you don't want it to be exactly 1 inch above the lower piece because then the drawer slide will rub on the top and the bottom piece. So I am installing the upper piece about 1 1/8 inches above the lower piece. That gives my drawer slide about 1/8 of an inch to move around, which is plenty. You've probably noticed, because you have quite the keen eye, I know, that I try and limit my measuring when at all possible. So to do that, I use a lot of spacers. Like right here, I'm using a spacer that's 1 1/8 inches wide to make room for my drawer slides. Spacers also ensure that if you're installing 2 mirroring pieces, that's tough to say, kind of like rural, that they're in the exact spots that they need to be. I also cut my drawer so there's a 1/16 inch of room on the right and left sides. I was all set to claim victory and tell you just how great these drawer slides are, but alas, there is a different ending to this story. Now, I've done this method with wooden drawer slides before multiple times, but it's always been with hardwood. This time it's with plywood, and more specifically, the slides are gliding on the rough edges of the plywood. So it's actually not sliding as well as I would like it to. It's sliding okay, but it's not quite as smooth and easy as I was expecting. I'm gonna put some paste wax on it and see if that helps. I'm gonna give this a good lather and see how it goes. And I've also used candle wax before as well, and that works well and also seems to last a while before I feel the need to reapply. Also, I assume this is the same wax people use to wax their bodies. I know you're not supposed to assume, but I'm pretty sure that's correct. Oh, that's actually a lot better. Yeah, that is much, much better. You didn't think I was gonna forget to add some weight, did ya? Let's add some books and see how it slides. It's actually still not bad. It's heavier, obviously, but I think for shop furniture, this is fine. It slides a lot better with the paste wax on it. It worked better than I thought it would actually. But I can't say how long the paste wax will last. It could soak in and need to be reapplied every so often. But if you want to go the safer route, I would suggest using hardwood, and poplar is actually a pretty cheap option. But let's be real, if you're using this just for shop furniture, the plywood's gonna be fine. And even if you don't use paste wax or the paste wax soaks in and you don't reapply, it's not that bad, and for workshop furniture, I think it's fine. Now I gotta figure out what to do with this. Another option would be to use 1/2 inch plywood for the drawer box to make it a little lighter, and that decrease in weight could make it slide a little easier. The reveal is actually pretty nice if I do say so myself. Oh, you're still here. If you liked this video, you are really gonna like this next one. I'll see you over there. You still here? Oh. Go and watch that next video right here, all right? I'll see you right over there. Seriously, so click the video. Just click it, super easy, left click, right there.